upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Status quo. If you missed yesterday's program, we have a new status quo anthem. That is my friend, my great friend, Carmen Elisa Cancel. Carmen Elisa Cancel, who was nice enough to record a opera song for Status Quo. Her and I together wrote the lyrics, which was a lot of fun, but she sang it. I certainly can't sing that. So I said, you know what? I want an opera song. I have a great friend of mine who's a great opera singer, and we are going to write a beautiful song about a brave band of journalists who left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. So that's Carmen. Her website is currently under construction. So when it's done, I'll definitely show you her work. If you ever need an opera singer at a wedding, a bar mitzvah, an anniversary, or just a, summer pool party, hire Carmen. She's fantastic. So what a day. What a day, what a day, what a day. I don't know, what do I even start on? What do I even start on? And I see we're being suppressed on YouTube like usual. There's the police coming for YouTube, the sirens, because they're not happy that YouTube is suppressing Status Quo. Remember, you got your checklist. I need all of you, to smash that like button. If you're watching on your phone, I need you to X out of the live chat for a second. Smash that thumbs up button. The more people that press the thumbs up, the more people that will see our live stream. That's the way YouTube's algorithm works. We'll talk about membership in a little bit. Follow us at Status Quo on the Twitter. Super, super important. I'm at Jordan Sheridan. Subscribe to our podcast. That's bit.ly/Status Quo podcast. And go to statusquo.com. Enter your email. That's super important. The more people that enter their email, the more email, the larger our email list is, and we got to grow that email list. So, you know what? I think as much as I want to start with the NBC News denying Status Quo credentials to get into the debate next week, I think possible war with Iran is a little more important than that. So I'll get to the fact that NBC has denied our credentials. I wonder why. We'll get to that a little bit later. Thank you. I've already seen so many of you have emailed NBC, and I put it in the description of this video. So you could email NBC and give them a piece of your mind on them denying our credentials. I don't appreciate it, and I have a sneaking suspicion why they denied our credentials. But we'll get to that later. Thank you, Joseph Bowen, $2 in the super chat. Oh, that reminds me. Thank you for the reminder. Our GoFundMe is growing. We are now at $59,465. Thank you to Darlene, $10 within the hour. Tim Sawyer, $5 within the hour. V. Madhavadas, $5. Paul Gibby, 15. Dale Kelly, 25. Anonymous, 25. Catherine, $20. John, $10. Corey, $23. So slowly but surely, and we're going to need to grow that because right now Miami is in flux. I'll get to that later. I still think we're going to go, but we definitely need to raise more money to make it worth our trip. So if you don't mind, leave a couple bucks in the GoFundMe. I appreciate it. Here is the link. Jen is not going to be doing the live stream today, so thank you, Michael, putting the links in so I don't have to do two things at once. So let's start with Donald Trump tweeting, Iran made a very big mistake. Iran made a very big mistake. For all we know, he's tweeting this from his bed, eating cheeseburgers and drinking Diet Coke, because literally this is what the President of the United States does. He watches Fox News in bed, eats cheeseburgers, and drinks Diet Coke all day. This is what is reported. So Donald Trump is saying Iran made a very big mistake because the Department of Defense, the CIA, the FBI, the usual suspects are saying, putting out, Iran shot down a U.S. drone in international airspace. Where's the evidence of this? We'll tell you after the war. We'll tell you after the war where the evidence is. Let's see what President Trump had to say.
Ever since I was little,
Damn it. Sorry for the ad.
world of possibilities. Some think cooking is old-fashioned, but in this day, finding ways to bring people together, getting them to stop, breathe, talk, now that's a revolutionary act. This feeling of home is why I'm launching Shop Homemade with GoDaddy. They had everything I needed to launch my new site and share it with the world. What's your idea? Make it happen with GoDaddy. Make the world you want. Opinion?
Oh, absolutely. When I came here, Iran was in 14 to 18 different sites of confliction. They were extremely hostile. They were hostile when they signed the deal. They were screaming death to America. And I think probably Iran made a mistake. I would imagine it was a general or somebody that made a mistake in shooting that drone down. And fortunately, that drone was unarmed. It was not, there was no man in it, and it was over international waters, clearly over international waters, but we didn't have a man or woman in the drone. We had nobody in the drone.
Are you still open?
It would have made a big difference, let me tell you. It would have made a big, big difference. But I have a feeling, I may be wrong, and I may be right, but I'm right a lot. I have a feeling that it was a mistake made by somebody that shouldn't have been doing what they did.
Who do you think
I think they made a mistake, and I'm not just talking the country made a mistake. I think that somebody under the command of that country made a big
Are you
mistake.
still open to talking to Iran's leadership?
Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens. It's all going to work out.
So you're members of your administration who want?
Say it.
Are you saying you think it wasn't intentional to strike the drone?
I don't know. I find it hard to believe it was intentional, if you want to know the truth. I think that it could have been somebody who was loose and stupid that did it. But we'll be able to report back, and you'll understand exactly what happened. But it was a very foolish move. That I can tell you.
What do you feel like there are members of your administration who are trying to push you into conflict?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, in many cases, it's the opposite. But I will say, look, I said, I want to get out of these endless wars. I campaigned on that. I want to get out. We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. As you know, we've reduced very substantially in Afghanistan. We beat the caliphate. We took back 100% of the caliphate. When it was 99%, Justin, I said, we're going to get out. We're going to start peeling back. And everybody went crazy because it was 99. So I said, all right, so we'll finish.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing because we're talking about war here, but I don't know if President Trump missed the memo that drones are unmanned. Drones are unmanned things in the sky. So if it were manned, that's called an airplane. Sorry to break it. to the President of the United States what a drone is versus an airplane. And remember to press that like button. Got 120 of you watching, but only 72 likes. So I need at least 50 more of you. Press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. If you're watching this on your phone, X out of the live chat for a second. Press that thumbs up button, and then go back into live chat. This is a super chat. We got our GoFundMe going. Let's do it, baby. So I don't even know where to start. When he says, well, clearly it was an international, the drone was an international, shot down in international airways. Clearly to who? Look, clearly means there's some evidence of this. I've seen no evidence that that drone was flying in international airspace. Have you? But this is the thing with the military-industrial complex and the corporate media that props up the military-industrial complex. They just regurgitate without any thought what they are fed by the warmongers in the Defense Department, in the CIA, in the FBI, because they are public relations for the military-industrial complex. Or as my friend Mike Gravel says, the military-industrial complex via Wall Street. Sorry, I don't have a great Mike Gravel impression. And by the way, I put in a request to interview Mike because I want to talk to him about what's going on. I mean, we might be at war with Iran within a week or two. And I don't say that casually, but it's true. So you got basically a corporate media hysteria. I've been watching CNN, MSNBC today. It's just stated as fact. Oh, those Iranians, they shot down a U.S. drone in international airspace. You know, Kimberly, I saw that. You know what the problem is about progressive media in general? Sorry to go on a tangent. Kimberly wrote, status quo competing with Lee Camp right now. You know, the other day I was on, and Jimmy Dore was on live. Kyle Kalinske was on live at the same time. Today I'm on, Lee's on. I love all these guys. And there's women, too, female hosts in progressive media. So I wish, and I have called for this, I wish that progressive media can work together. Imagine if there was a one network that had a schedule. And Jimmy Dore was on at X time. And Secular Talk was on at another time, and this one was on at another time, instead of constantly stepping on each other's shoes or feet. I would love that. And I bet you people would pay probably $10 a month, $20 a month for that kind of network. And I have proposed that to some very smart people in independent media. But for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. It doesn't mean status quo wouldn't exist as its own entity, and the Jimmy Dore wouldn't exist as its own entity. Everybody could be their own thing, but just have a schedule. So everybody could watch the independent news that they want without it all being on top of each other. Because I'm not knocking Lee. He should go live when he wants to go live and when's convenient for him. Same thing with Jimmy and this and that. But like where I'm coming from, 5 o'clock Eastern is the best time I feel for us to go live. So like I can't work my schedule around when people are going to go live every day. So it's a little frustrating. I wish everybody would coordinate with each other. But what are you going to do? I could only go live when I go live. If when I'm live, you would rather watch somebody else, God bless you. But I think status quo is where you should be. Getting back to this. So basically, all of the corporate media outlets, they're bringing on all the generals, the former generals, to basically tell us how we need to go to war with Iran tomorrow. And CNBC is literally bringing on disgraced war criminals to tell us why we should go to war with Iran.
And the tanker attacks that took place last week, there's been so much speculation about what's going on, but from your vantage point and what you know, how do you read all of it? tactics?
Well, it's obviously a complicated situation. It's a dangerous situation. I do think that we are seeing that Iran is the big troublemaker in the Middle East. I think we've known that for a long time. But the Iranians can be reckless. They can engage in activities that you would think, why would you do that? Because it's going to provoke a response. Obviously, they are being squeezed pretty hard under the sanctions that the administration has put on. And I will say that the decision to leave the Iran nuclear deal, clearly the Iranians are trying to fight back, but it says something about that deal that the Iranians are so quickly able to start saying that they can break out, they can start enriching at a very high level. I watched Secretary Pompeo. I think that he is somebody of significant substance and a cool head. I know the people like John Bolton. I think they will manage this. We need the Europeans with us. This is a time for the United States and Europe to say to the Iranians, it's fine to come back to the table, but not when you're threatening to cause havoc in the Middle East or along the sea lanes.
Do you think the 2015 agreement was the wrong choice for the United States?
I mean, first of all, where do you even start? CNBC is a disgrace. They should be fired for having Condoleezza Rice on. It's a disgrace. She's a war criminal. But in America, war criminals are elevated. They're given awesome professor jobs at Stanford. I think she's a professor at. They're giving speaking gigs. They're invited on to NBC, to CNBC. I think she was on the Today Show as well. Let's get her opinion on Iran on the Today Show from Condoleezza Rice. So, first of all, a little history lesson. We overthrew Mossadegh, the democratically elected president of Iran in the 1950s, because Mossadegh would not hand over Iran's oil to the United States. This was all the way back in the 1950s. So this created the wrecking ball that more brutal dictators. Mossadegh was not like the Shah, or Khomeini. But we basically created this human wrecking ball in Iran by overthrowing the democratically elected leader of that country. So we also, I don't love Barack Obama, but I was for the Iran nuclear deal, and experts say there was no evidence that they were breaking the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. But Donald Trump removed us from the Iran nuclear deal, not because there was any evidence that they were violating it, because Donald Trump and John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, they're not worried about the nukes. They want the oil. It's about the oil, and it's about owning the geopolitical oil market. That's it. So we've also, like we've done in Venezuela, absolutely destroyed Iran's economy. That's, according to international law, the sanctions that we've put on Venezuela and Iran are illegal. So, I'm sorry, you're telling me that the military-industrial complex, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, all of them. First, Iran attacked a tanker, a Japanese tanker. That's the first propaganda. But then the owner of the tanker says it wasn't Iran. Okay. Now, a U.S. drone, which our president refers to as an unmanned drone, which means an airplane, not a drone, but let's put that aside. Now they're saying Iran shot down a U.S. drone in international airspace. The evidence? We'll give you the evidence after we start the war. There is no evidence. But of course, Barbara Starr, that stenographer at CNN, Barbara Starr, live from the Pentagon, to give you a word-for-word transcript of what a deep state general just told me. Back to you, Wolf. The Pentagon says the CIA says, the Homeland Security says. We don't know because we haven't actually verified whether it's true or not, but that's what they tell us. Back to you, Wolf. Sorry. I'm just trying to imitate as best I can. Remember to press that like button, and remember, got our GoFundMe going. I don't know. I can't promise you that with the GoFundMe money, I ain't going to Iran, but I'll definitely go around the country to cover the campaign. That's for sure. So I want to show you now Ben Norton. Ben Norton, who will be joining me on Sunday in the flesh for our Sunday live stream marathon. Ben Norton will be here in my studio, because Ben Norton is somebody that I really look to for sense on foreign policy. He knows his stuff. He's with the gray zone. So Ben tweets out, let's be clear. The Trump administration sent a drone into what Iran says was its sovereign airspace. The U.S. knew Iran would shoot it down in self-defense, but the U.S. government also knew the corporate media would obediently portray this as Iranian escalation, helping justify Trump's aggression. I couldn't have said it better myself, because that's the point. The deep state knows that the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, which, by the way, Amazon, who owns the Washington Post, has a $1 billion contract with the Pentagon, a $600 million contract with the CIA. So they'll print whatever the generals tell them. They'll print whatever the CIA tells them. That's the Amazon Washington Post. So basically, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, and Donald Trump are just banking on that the corporate media will just regurgitate whatever they say, whether it's true or not, because that's what we did in Iraq. That's what we did going to Libya. That's what we've done in Syria. That's what we do with Venezuela. It's all stenography. And this is what leads to millions of people dying around the world senselessly. Ben followed up. You can follow him at Benjamin Norton, by the way. The Trump administration's strategy towards Iran is blatantly aggressive and illegal provocation. But the corporate media is dutifully going along with this, helping to whitewash U.S. aggression, portray Iran as the aggressor, and sell a new war. The corporate media is a handmaiden to war. Couldn't agree more. Case study in propaganda. NBC's Today Show obediently regurgitates the U.S. military's narrative with no skepticism. Iran says the U.S. drone was in its airspace. U.S. military says otherwise. Whose claims make the headline? U.S., of course. This is state media. And then he shows the headline. Iran shoots down U.S. drone in international airspace. I mean, the truth is, yes, Smoke Infinity, this is the same Jordan from TYT back a couple years ago. Make sure you're a subscriber to Status Coup. We're about to hit 44,000 subscribers in 14 months. So, let me get something straight. It's not that the corporate media has not learned the lessons of Iraq. They've learned the lessons, but they're paid to ignore those lessons. They know what they are feeding is not verified. They know what they are feeding is likely bullshit. Whoop, demonetized, get to the swear jar. They know that they are just putting out propaganda. But they don't care, because it's all a racket for these anchors and journalists. Their kids aren't going to be the ones going to Iran to fight the war that we're going to fight. So what do they care? They're making a lot of money if you're a CNN journalist getting your paycheck signed by AT&T, or Comcast if you're getting your NBC getting your check signed by Comcast. And of course, cable news ratings, newspaper revenue goes up when there's war. What did they say? War is a racket. It's disgusting. Thank you, Darth Corey. $2 in the swear jar. This is a super chat. And then Ben points out, the corporate media is inviting the same war criminals who lied to justify the illegal war on Iraq to peddle more lies to justify an illegal war on Iran. CNBC also did a softball interview with Iraq war architect Condoleezza Rice, who just demonized Iran. Yep. This is just state media propaganda. Everything is the Pentagon says. The Pentagon says. CBS correspondent is in the United Arab Emirates, and he embeds directly with the U.S. military for his anti-Iran report. Then CBS cuts to its, quote, expert pundit at the Pentagon. Everything about this is state media propaganda. CBS correspondent is in the United Arab Emirates. The correspondent, with his spray-on tan, then embeds with the U.S. Navy, which he obediently echoes. Then the CBS expert is at the Pentagon. It is impossible to overstate how horrible, ridiculous, irresponsible, dishonest, and propagandist U.S. corporate media coverage is on Iran and Venezuela, Russia, China, etc. The more you travel, the more you see how it's just brainwashing to manufacture consent for U.S. government crimes. Give it up for Ben Norton, who again will be on our Sunday live stream, our marathon live stream, which starts at noon Eastern time. We go live on Sundays for several hours to raise money. We are trying to get to that $85,000 in our GoFundMe. We appreciate all the contributions. Thank you to Marilyn, just gave $5 in the GoFundMe, so we are now $530 away from $60,000. Oh my God, I'd be so happy if we can get to $60,000 before we go live Sunday. And I'm going to explain later, we got to raise more money because NBC News denied our credentials to get into the first debate, which I'm going to address next. So let me explain something to you folks. Let me explain something to you. The reason that Tulsi Gabbard has been completely blacked out by the corporate media, and the reason that when she even does get coverage, they just make her out to be an Assad apologist and a Putin puppet and all this stuff, is simply because there is only one thing scarier to the establishment. One thing scarier than, Medicare for all. And that's putting a dent in the military-industrial complex. Because the military-industrial complex has been running this country basically since the 1940s. Dwight Eisenhower warned against a military-industrial complex, and he was foreshadowing something very, very real. And you know what? Even if Iran did shoot down a U.S. drone in international airspace, you know what? Then we do diplomacy. The first reaction to things cannot automatically be war, more war. And I got to tell you, I highly doubt Iran shot down a U.S. drone unless that drone was in Iranian territory, which they would have every right to shoot down a U.S. drone, who could, for all they know, be about to drop a massive amount of bombs and missiles. They would have every single right to do it. So would Russia, so would any country, if you are invading their airspace. And since, there's kind of a track record of the United States lying about intelligence or attacks, I give you the Gulf of Tonkin lie, Fed for Vietnam. I'm not going to just believe what the Pentagon tells me. I'm not going to just believe what Mike Pompeo tells me. I'm certainly not going to believe what John Bolton tells me. And the thing that scares me the most, folks, and remember to press that like button if you have not pressed the like button. Got 180 of you watching, 124 likes, so we got to get at least 50 more likes. Get out of the mobile chat if you can for a second. Press that thumbs up. What scares me the most is actually, that's not keyboard typing. That's the rain outside. It's raining in New York City. What scares me the most is we have a president that if his poll numbers go down to a dangerous level, if his internal polling shows that he's going to get creamed by whoever the Democratic nominee is. You don't think this president has the character to just toss us into an unnecessary war? To get his poll numbers up? To rally support? You got to be patriotic. You got to support the president, like George W. did in 2004. You're un-American if you don't support the troops if you're against the surge in Iraq. You don't think Donald Trump would do that? Particularly with the corporate media just basically salivating on screen. Give us war in Iran. Give us a war. The Pentagon says we need a war, so by golly, we need a war. Kelly Elaine is right. We don't have a president, we have a corporate stooge. And an unstable one at that. I'm really excited that Ben is going to be on Sunday. I know what I know what I don't know. Domestic policy and domestic issues is definitely my strength. Foreign policy is not, I know enough, but it's not my expertise. It is Ben's. So Ben Norton will be live. We're going to start at noon Eastern on Sunday, so I hope you join us Sunday. If you want to go to the beach, if it's nice out where you are, just listen and watch while you're laying or by the pool. So, moving on. This morning I wake up to this email. Where are you? I wake up from an email from NBC News. Thank you for your interest in attending the first Democratic presidential debate hosted by NBC News, MSNBC, and Telemundo in Miami. Unfortunately, due to space constraints, we are unable to approve your request for a press credential. We will keep your information on file and contact you if we are able to accommodate your request. You can watch the debate at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, June 26th and Thursday, June 27th on NBC News, MSNBC, and Telemundo. For questions, please contact NBC Miami Debate 2020. So, tell you the truth, I was not surprised by this. I was kind of expecting it because, number one, this is a good thing. Thank you, Hank. $5 in the super chat. If Hillary was president, we'd be at war with Syria and probably Iran too. You're probably right. That's why I didn't vote for her. So, I covered, I think 4 or 5, maybe, 5 or 6 debates in 2016. Got into each one of them. I was with the Young Turks at the time. So, it was the last debate I covered, the third presidential debate, where, I was fortunate. I had access because I had a credential. So I got in there and I was able to, I thought very respectfully but aggressively, confront then DNC chair Donna Brazile, who was, frankly, regurgitating lies to me on a loop. And boy, did that go viral. I really didn't expect it. I thought it would do well, but I didn't think it was going to get, I think it's got 500,000 views on YouTube. I think it also got over 1 million views on Facebook. So let's just say the DNC, I permanently lost my Christmas party invitation from the DNC after that. And that's okay, because I'm Jewish. And secondly, I would never go to a DNC Christmas party. So, when you're applying for credentials give you a little pass to put around your neck. It gives you entry into the debate. It gives you entry into the press room. And it gives you the ability before the debate and more importantly after the debate to be in what they call the spin room. And the spin room is where campaign officials, campaign managers, communications people, whatever, Tom Perez, DNC leaders, all that, they go to lie to the press. That's why it's called the spin room. They go to dress up if your candidate did terrible, and to basically to dress up their candidate. So I'm thinking, wait a minute here. Because I remember seeing, at all the debates I covered in 2016, I remember seeing outlets that had less audience than Status Quo does right now. We're 14 months old, and we're about to hit 44,000 subscribers, thanks to you. And if you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? Press the subscribe button, and then click all notifications. But there's like little local outlets there that don't have the following we have. I've seen YouTube channels with credentials that have far less of a following than us. So what exactly is the basis on approving or denying credentials? I'm pretty sure they have space for myself and my cameraman, Ty Bayless. Pretty sure they have space for 2 more. So I emailed that NBC email, which I'll give you right here. 1 second. And I encourage viewers to do the same, and I encourage you to do the same too. And I've already seen emails from viewers basically being like, WTF, NBC. And I said to them, this doesn't make sense to me, because I know you don't. I know you got space for us. And we have a pretty decent following. 44,000 subscribers ain't nothing. And we're a progressive media outlet. Doesn't the Democratic Party say that they're progressive? So then I emailed the DNC. And I said to the DNC, hey, what's the deal here? Does this have anything to do with maybe we have reported critically on the DNC hiring as its finance director a major Hillary Clinton and Debbie Wasserman Schultz donor who just a few months ago was tweeting out nasty things about Bernie Sanders, who is now the finance director of the DNC? Could that maybe have anything to do with it? Could it have anything to do with me challenging Donna Brazile in 2016? Because, the DNC doesn't have to like status quo. The NBC doesn't have to like status quo. But I think most objective people could say we've done pretty good work. We broke a major national story on the Flint water crisis last year that is actively now being investigated by the Attorney General of Michigan. That I know. We knocked on almost 500 doors, Jen and I, to break that story. So we're a legitimate news outlet. More legitimate than most of the people getting credentials. I will tell you, they might be blowing smoke up my behind, but the DNC did get back to me pretty quickly, actually. They said, I understand your frustration, and they would personally ask NBC to make an exception for us. Now, I could just, to all 200 of you watching, bash the DNC. But I said to the DNC guy who emailed me, I said, I appreciate that. And if you reach out to NBC, and if you get them to reverse this decision, then I will personally go on live, and I will credit the DNC for doing the right thing. Then I'm going to go in, and I'm going to challenge Joe Biden's campaign, and I'm going to challenge For the People Kamala Harris's campaign, and I'm going to challenge Mayor Pete's campaign, and I'm going to challenge Elizabeth Warren on Medicare for All. Because that's called journalism. I'm not there to be like, well, how'd you think your candidate did in the debate, Jim? But the DNC says they're going to reach out to NBC. I'm, not going to hold my breath. But I'll let it play out for now. See if they actually do. Because I know for a fact there's space in that building in Miami. And I would really appreciate it, folks. I just put the email in the live chat. Give them an email. Tell them why status quo should be in that building. Tell them why we are actual, independent, progressive journalism that belongs at the first presidential debate. And if you want to call them, here's some of their numbers. Because make no mistake about it, if they do not reverse this decision, that is the beginning of the corporate media shielding the establishment candidates. Because I promise you, Jim Acosta is not going to challenge Joe Biden's campaign people at the debate. I promise you. Jeff Zeleny is not going to challenge anybody. I promise you. Nobody at NBC, none of their reporters are challenging anybody. So then we're left with a decision. This is an expensive trip. I'm not going to lie to you. Ty's flight alone was $600 when you add in the equipment costs, because they charge us for every bag we bring on the plane. He's got a lot of equipment to bring. My flight was around $300. Then you got Airbnb. Then you got to rent a car real quick without even blinking. These trips could cost you $1,500 to $2,000. And this is only for 2 days. So we got traveler's protection in the event we wanted to cancel it, because if we can't get into the debates, yes, there's going to be voters outside, and that's a big part of what we do. So we can go down there. We can interview voters. But the main reason I was going down there is I want to be a journalist. I want to challenge power. I'll be fair. I'm not going to, be physically accosting anyone. But I think if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Mayor Pete and some of these more establishment candidates are going to say they're for the people and they're about bringing back American values and, I'm a Swiss sandwich. I'm a Swiss sandwich, Mayor Pete. Then I think you should be asked about doing fundraisers with Wall Street, where you literally, Joe Biden told Wall Street 2 nights ago, if you elect me president, your standard of living will not change whatsoever. That is a literal quote. Or for the people, Kamala Harris, who's been doing fundraisers at the top of Citigroup's penthouse in New York. Or Mayor Pete, who one day is standing with Uber workers and the next day doing private fundraisers with Uber CEO. I'd like to ask Joe Biden's campaign about him referring to black people as the Negro, about him referring to black people as the black man. I'd like to ask Joe Biden's campaign about him in the 1970s saying, I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body. I'd like to ask Joe Biden's campaign about him saying the crime bill did not create mass incarceration. Well, I'd like to ask them, if it wasn't the crime bill, what was it? One of those bills that names post offices? So I'm just keeping it real, folks. I don't know if they're going to reverse their decision. I don't exactly think the DNC is going to go to bat for us. They said they would talk to NBC. We'll see. I think it will make a big difference if you personally email NBC. I think it will make a big difference if you personally call NBC and let them know this is unacceptable, because it is unacceptable. They are silencing independent media. So they're going to attack Trump for going after the media, but then they're going to attack media that actually challenges the politicians that they hold their lunch for. And you want to tell me that the free press is under attack? No, the corporate press is not under attack. We are under attack. But I'm going to tell you straight up, as of now, if we don't get in, and thank you, Patrick Coyne, $30 in the GoFundMe. Gail, $10. We are now less than $500 away from $60,000. As of now, if we don't get that GoFundMe up to at least $61,000 by next week, we might, I don't want to say definitely, but we might cancel the trip. Only because we need to preserve our money. Like I've always told you, you are looking at $59,000, but we don't have $59,000. We have spent a good amount of the GoFundMe, not only on equipment, not only on marketing, not only on social media, but on reporting in the field like we said we would. With the GoFundMe money, we've been to Flint several times, Detroit, Cleveland, Warren, Michigan, Seattle, Washington, Vancouver, Canada. We've been to Dallas with the GoFundMe, Chicago, West Virginia. We've been to a lot of places. We don't just tell you, give us money, give us money. We go out there. But there's also realities, and we need to save money because we want to go on the campaign trail to cover Bernie, to cover Tulsi, and to get in there and challenge. I'd love to cover some Joe Biden events. But I can only tell you, we need the money to do it. So we'll definitely go if we could cover the costs for the trip. So I hope if you got a couple bucks, you will leave it in that GoFundMe today. Today. Because the more money we have, the more we could go down. And if I can't get in, I mean, listen, I just had back surgery. I'm not going to like storm the gates. I did physical therapy yesterday for the first time since back surgery. My back is super sore. So I don't know if I could like super spy get into that debate. I'll try. But if we don't have access to get in, I'm not positive we're going to go. I don't want to disappoint you guys, but like it's super expensive to go down there for just 2 days if we don't have access to actually interview people with the campaigns, because that's what needs to happen. These people need to be challenged. So, beyond the GoFundMe, we are now at 477 Status Coup members. Status Coup is trying to grow for the long term, and membership is how we do it. So I want to air another new interview our reporter Marcus Ely has done. Growing our membership is the only way we're going to be able to keep Marcus. As of now, I don't expect us to be able to keep Marcus past July. We guaranteed him 2 months, but we need to grow our membership so we could afford to keep another reporter. I fronted the money for Marcus. So I really hope, if you're sitting on the fence, there's 200 of you watching, I hope you consider becoming a member. You get bonus content, you get behind-the-scenes videos, and you're supporting real independent journalism. The screen's about to go black, so I can put in the video, and then you'll see Marcus in the field. And we are the only ones that I know of that are actually covering the events, the rallies, the protests that actually matter in this country, and giving the microphone back to the people.
So I'm here at the march and strike and fight for 15, and there is a guy who's attempting to shout it down. And notice everybody's calling him crazy. Nobody's talking to him, but he's making a valid point. He's annoying. Let's keep it 100. He's annoying, but he's got a great point. Why did Kamala Harris meet with Wall Street bankers who are causing the problem of $15 an hour, people getting paid less than $15 an hour? And she's meeting with those people, but at the same time, she's here at a march for $15 an hour, and she's taken millions of dollars and had events hosted by people who are causing folks to make less than $15 an hour. And that's a valid question. The dude's annoying. Let's keep it 100. But he's allowed to shout him down, and he's being treated right. But these are valid questions, and these valid questions need to be answered. And the news is completely following this guy. Most of the protesters are ignoring him. I'm going to see if I can get with this guy and have a brief conversation with him. Marcus Ely here for Status Coup, and I'm here with Cyrus Ojeda, and he is shouting down the Fight for 15 protest. And Kamala Harris is leading the march. We're behind the march right now. And he's shouting down the Fight for 15 protest, saying cap CEO pay. Can you talk a little bit about?
Let's go this way, actually. Well, I think that I don't have any opinion on $15 an hour, just like a lot of other issues like gun control. I mean, whether you control it or not, it's not going to solve the root cause of the problem. $15 an hour, there's some pros and cons. I mean, I think Walmart can pay $15 an hour, but I think that small businesses are going to be harmed. But the real problem is not really necessarily the minimum wage. The real problem is you have CEO pay that has shot up exponentially since the 1970s. And there could be a number of reasons, destruction of unions, outsourcing, low-skilled immigration, a lot of different things. So we need to cap CEO pay by putting a ratio system. So a CEO can only make 50 times the bottom employee. And we also need to address cost of living. We need to find ways to bring rental costs down. That is the heart of the problem. We can have rents as low as $350 a month, but we barely see that here in Las Vegas.
Okay, so you said something about immigration. You said low-skilled immigration is part of the problem?
Yes.
Why do you say?
Well, because if you bring people from impoverished countries, you are going to obviously drag down the wages because what happens is that.
But hold on, I got to stop you there because we're the ones impoverished those countries. Let's keep it 1,000. We impoverished those countries. We did that to them. We did 100 and something coups in the last 50 something coups in the last 100 years in South America. We're doing a coup right now in Venezuela. So.
I am not supportive of American foreign policy,
But the bottom line is the American foreign policy is the root cause of our immigration problems.
I get your
So
problem.
you
So
can't.
we need to hold the military-industrial complex and the politicians accountable. But unfortunately, Kamala Harris is pro-military-industrial complex. If you look at her voting record, you'll see what I'm talking about. And by the way, I just wanted to point out, and you look at her campaign donations, a lot of people who are donated by the people who are, the Raytheon, a lot of these big corporations that are headquartered in California. And by the way, I just wanted to point out, it's simple supply and demand economics. You flood the economy with low-skilled labor where these large corporations lobby for, it's going to drag down wages because the corporation is that if they pay the foreign worker less, they can save a lot of costs because they are willing to take a lower pay. That's a fact. Now, to say that all countries around the world are impoverished because of other countries.
Okay, that's no. That's not what I said. What I said was in the case. What I said in the case was of immigration, which is an issue that's a hotbed issue in our country right now. We need to get out the way. The police are coming. What I said was that a lot of the people that are coming in, a lot of the low-skilled work that is coming into our country is because of damage we did. We the ones messed up those countries.
But
we did
that's
that.
not entirely the reason, though.
No. That is entirely the reason. Iran-Contra, all of these countries, we have what we have in this country because we stole from other countries. We are on stolen land.
But I understand that. But even before the U.S. meddled, these countries were less fortunate.
And they were less fortunate because we stole and colonized them.
Even 100 years ago, like El Salvador and Honduras, the U.S. didn't even meddle with those countries until like the 70s and 80s.
The U.S. didn't meddle with those countries in the 70s and 80s, but guess what? Europe did, and the U.S. is basically Europe Junior.
And so
the thing is, it's systemic white supremacy has been a problem in the world for a very long time.
And my people, the Persians, we conquered much of the Middle East and Greece. So are we responsible for the problems of Greece? Mongolia had large empires extending to Europe. Are Mongolians responsible?
Every
group of people have done it, sir.
Every group of people have done it. That's an excuse. That's an excuse. What I'm saying is that there is responsibility to be had. So I agree. I agree. There are things that I agree with you on, but at the same time, to attack immigrants that way, I can't abide that, and I can't let that slide.
We're saying that the corporations lobby for cheap labor, and when you bring cheap labor, that devalues the wages. That's supply and demand economics. You fled too many people for one low-skilled job, that brings down the wages. That's a fact. That's why corporations lobby for it. Now, another thing I wanted to point out, and I just want to get back to what I just want to say. And the other problem, and me personally, it's not the fact that immigrants are putting my life in danger or they're taking my job. Me personally, that's not my problem. My problem is when the immigrants go and vote. And we see that without the immigrant vote, with the culinary union, we would have not had these laws that came into play. Now, you can argue that many of these laws Sizzle-Act passed.
Wait. Immigrant vote, like immigrants who became citizens? Or
that's a good question. Now, I don't know if citizens are actually voting. We have to see.
Okay, I need some proof for you to make a claim like that, bro.
Well,
I need proof.
I think we should investigate.
We have investigated. There is no proof, sir. You tripping, bruh. I'm sorry. Nah, you tripping.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.
Status quo.
Oops. Forgot to unmute myself. I said, that guy's tripping. And good on Marcus. Good on Marcus to give it to him. Give it to that guy. It really reminds me, that guy really, really reminds me of some of the idiotic Trump supporters I had to deal with. The idiot Trump supporters who don't know history and they think immigrants are stealing their jobs. No, you fucking idiots. Your jobs are being offshored by the politicians you're voting for. It's not the immigrants stealing your jobs. It's Joe Biden pushing NAFTA and TPP. Hillary Clinton pushing NAFTA and TPP. And by the way, the immigrants are flooding here because we've destroyed Honduras, we've destroyed El Salvador, we've destroyed Belize, we have destroyed all of these Central and South American countries. Of course they're flooding here. So good on Marcus to challenge him. But I'm telling you the truth, people. And I'm telling Marcus this later. We have a call later. We got to grow our membership or I can't keep him. I personally fronted the money for Marcus because I see potential in him. So I put my own money forward for 2 months. Past that, I mean, I could only pay what is coming into Status Quo. So currently, we don't have enough income. We have enough right now to cover what we pay Jen, to cover what we pay Ty, to cover what we pay Colin, which is awesome. The fact that we're able to afford all three of them, I would love to make more money so I could finally pay myself a stable salary, but that'll come later. But I'd love to keep Marcus, but we got to grow. And we're trying to grow by going out there and showing you what we're going to do. We're not asking you to become a member so that we, can sit here and talk about Trump till we're blue in the face. We're trying to grow our membership so we could go out and cover Bernie's campaign, cover Tulsi's campaign, go to Biden, Harris, Mayor Pete, Warren, challenge their voters, challenge them, challenge their campaign people. We are not interested. We're not interested in just doing shows from our studio. So I hope if you're on the fence, become a member at statusquo.com. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month or $179 annually. And we will be doing more and more member content special for you. Is real, independent, in the field journalism worth $5 to $10 a month? There's a $20 option too, or $179 annually. I hope so. Right now, we have 476. 476. We had 477. We must have lost one. So we got 476 members. I'd like to get that to 500 by the end of this month. That gives us 10 days. I think we could do it. So if you're already a member, thank you. If you got friends, if you got family, tell them about Status Quo. Tell them about our in-the-field reporting. They don't have to be hardcore progressives. There's a lot of conservatives that don't want war with Iran. There's a lot of conservatives that care about dirty water. We're not just, card carrying. We cover a lot of things that all people are interested in. So I do hope. If you're not a member, check it out. Conversations with Rob. I want to get a Status Quo hat. When can we buy it? I keep forgetting to do this. We now have a merchandise store. So go to statusquo.com and click on store at the top. We don't have hats yet because the company that we're using, for whatever reason, doesn't sell hats. So we might do that separate. But go to statusquo.com, then click on store. You could get everything from a Status Quo shirt, tote bag, long sleeve, pillows, mugs, workout pants, flags for your room. I mean, the tank tops. Oh, such great options here. So definitely check it out. That's another great way we could earn some more revenue and grow Status Quo. So I really hope you guys will become a member. And thank you. Oh my God, now we're cooking. We just got in our GoFundMe $100 from Jacqueline, Jackie, how do I pronounce that? Jacinthe. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Pellerin, thanks for the $100. That's amazing. Jeffrey, thank you for the $10. Rondi, $5. Carol, 85, bringing us to $59,710. That is $290 from 60,000. Oh, what I would do to hit 60,000 by the end of this live stream. Oh, do you believe in miracles? And by the way, if we were to hit that 85,000, that gives us a good amount of money to go out in the field. So obviously it's not going to happen overnight. We're grassroots. We've gotten 1,275 people to donate, $59,000, almost $60,000. So thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. And I hope the next story shows you why we need to be in the field. I need to be in the field. Ty needs to be in the field. Marcus needs to be in the field. We need to be in the field to stop this Titanic. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Another amazing graphic by the talented Colin Tooley. So you see, Joe Biden, obviously at the front of the Titanic. His buddy Joe Scarborough, who we're about to talk about, right behind him. Clueless Don Lemon, right on the boat. Got Mrs. Joe Scarborough, Meeker Brzezinski. Chuck Schumer. Titanic can't go down if Chuck's not on it. Got Nancy Pelosi, Tom Perez. They're all on the Titanic, and they're smiling as the boat approaches the iceberg. Iceberg, right ahead. That iceberg is 4 more years of Donald Trump and probably war with Iran. But what does the Democratic Party care? Remember, Bernie Sanders said they'd rather go down on the Titanic as long as they have first class. And I mean, I don't even know if Joe Biden is intentionally trying to lose. But the things he's doing this week, ugh. So after him talking about how great, how civil those times were working with those segregationists in the Senate, he stood by that comment, of course. Of course he stood by it.
Corey should apologize. He knows better.
And then just moments ago, as we were coming to air, Biden shot back, telling CNN exclusively he had nothing to apologize for.
Corey should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period.
Perspective now from David Gergen, an advisor to 4 presidents and a CNN senior political analyst, and CNN political director David Chalian, whom I spoke about this with just before air. So David Chalian, these comments from Vice President Biden, how big of a problem?
Not a racist bone in my body. I just referred to black people as Negroes back in the day. I just used to refer to the black man shouldn't get a head start in society. I pushed a racist crime bill. Jacqueline, not only did Jacinthe, and please, if you're watching Jacinthe, please correct me on how to pronounce your name, because I'm very, very embarrassed that I'm probably destroying it. But not only did you donate $100 to our GoFundMe, which I can't thank you enough, she just became a member too. So now we're at 477 Status Quo members. Thank you. If you don't mind getting in that live chat, let me know how I say your name, because I feel like a jerk mispronouncing it. 477, welcome. Oh, Jacinth. Thank you, Jacinth. Really, really appreciate it. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard as we try to stop this absolute Titanic. Welcome aboard. Who else is out there? I know there's some of you that aren't members yet in the audience. Iceberg. So, of course, Joe Biden, his first fundraiser was with a Comcast lobbyist, and Comcast owns MSNBC. So, of course, Joe Biden's buddy, Joe Scarborough, had to defend Joe Biden for talking about, I missed the civil days in the Senate when we could just be civil with those segregationists.
Criticize another Democrat. She said, celebration, you can't celebrate segregationists. Never. I didn't know he did. And here is Senator Kamala Harris and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
To coddle the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
Does he apologize for that?
He's going to have to make that decision. But, let's be very clear that the senators that he is speaking of with such adoration are individuals who made and built their reputation on segregation.
My wife is African American. We have two beautiful children. James Eastland literally thought my wife and I should not have the legal right to marry, that those children should not exist, that our children should not.
Yeah, pretty much. Let me do it first.
Let's do that.
First of all, Kamala, I love Kamala, but Joe Biden didn't coddle any segregationists in anything that he said. In fact, I think he called one of them one of the meanest people he ever met. If that's coddling, please stay away from me, Joe. Don't hug me. Don't coddle me. That's not coddling. Also, he didn't speak with adoration about desegregationists. His point was, it wouldn't have been very persuasive, would it, if he said, you know what, I have proven over the past 30 years I can work with Tom Carper and every member of the Delaware delegation. That's not the point. He picked the people who were the most repugnant to him, who he disagreed with the most. And he said, I could even work with him. Now, who was it that says, was it Rumsfeld that says, you fight on the battlefield with the enemy that's presented to you, something like that, right? Well, guess what? FDR. The brilliance of FDR is he could work with Yankees from New England, and he could work with segregationists and racists from the South. And you know what happened when FDR did that? He passed Social Security. He passed the New Deal. He saved this country, and he saved poor people like my parents. In the Deep South, he also saved black Americans in Chicago. FDR didn't sit there and go, you know what? I'm not going to deal with the racists in the South. Eleanor and I are going to just sit here and have tea.
You gotta love Comcast Joe there, who he's talking about what is a persuasive argument. He thinks he's making a persuasive argument by quoting Donald Rumsfeld. Can you be more of a fucking asshole, Joe Scarborough? You think you're making a persuasive argument by quoting Donald Rumsfeld? So, okay, let's just talk common sense here, right? Joe Biden, his whole shtick, besides bending over and giving blowjobs to Wall Street donors, because that's what he's been doing at fundraisers. I'm sorry to be crude, but that's what he's been doing. He literally said to a bunch of Wall Street donors the other night, if I'm elected president, your standard of living will not fundamentally change. This is a quote. I don't know what you call that other than figuratively sexual favors. So Joe Biden's whole shtick is we got to get back to the good old days. Got to go back to the good old days where Democrats, patriotic Democrats and patriotic Republicans can just get together. It's a bipartisan deal. Break bread together and do the work of the American people. Got to get back to those days so they could be bipartisan and make compromises like welfare reform, which destroyed black people and single mothers in particular, like the crime bill, which ushered in mass incarceration, like repealing Glass-Steagall, like the Patriot Act, like the bankruptcy bill, like extending the Bush tax cuts. Why can't we just get back to the good old days where the Democrats and the Republicans, they work together? You like my accent? If so, go fund me. There's more of that. There's more where that came from. There's more of that. There's more where that. So, and Carl Knight, Moderate Rebels, Ben Norton will be joining me on Sunday in the flesh, live from my studio to talk Iran. He'll be on the live marathon live stream. So, accent needs a little fine tuning. So, okay. If Joe Biden wants to run a campaign on, I'm the guy to bring back bipartisan stuff, which, by the way, I don't think the problem is Democrats and Republicans don't work together. I think the problem is they work together too much to pass regressive, terrible legislation that gives crumbs to you and I and gives hors d'oeuvres and champagne to the wealthy donors they're raising their money from. But let's say that's his thing. If you want to mention the good old days of civility, why didn't you mention Bob Dole, like working with Bob Dole in the 1990s? Or, I don't know, Newt Gingrich, or, I don't know, any Republican senators you could reference that aren't segregationists? If you want to talk about the civil days, weren't there some Republicans you could have, come up with? Maybe Bill Frist, that aren't raging segregationists? Why is it that your first thought was to reference to not only segregationists, but, beyond racist? Segregationists are obviously racist, but why did you first think to mention it was so civil working with those segregationists? Could have mentioned Bob Dole. Paul Ryan you could have mentioned. I don't know. Name your Republican from the 1980s and 90s who weren't avowed segregationists. But of course, Joe Scarborough works at NBC. Comcast owns NBC. And Joe Biden did his first fundraiser with Comcast. No conflict of interest. Does NBC ever disclose that their parent company is giving money to Joe Biden? Of course not. That would be ethics in the media, not allowed. Don't you start, Dizzy Daniels. I didn't tell you to vote for Warren. Don't you start. These people hear what they want to hear. I didn't tell you who to vote for. Vote for whoever you want. You could vote for a marshmallow. Write your mother in. I don't care who you vote for. I was telling you what I would do. Now let's see an MSNBC anchor literally yell at Bernie Sanders in defense of her boyfriend,
Senator,
Joe Biden.
You have joined Cory Booker in the last 24 hours, calling on Joe Biden to apologize for comments he made about working with segregationists. And it's the more people hear about it, some are saying, well, he was applauding or celebrating that. That wasn't what Joe Biden was doing. Joe Biden was trying to make the point that bipartisanship is necessary. He's done so working with the deplorable of the deplorables. That's why he gave the example of the segregationists. So why is it that you believe he has to apologize?
Look, I think the media makes a bigger deal of it than it is.
So he doesn't have to apologize?
All that I said, no, yeah, I do. Because it's one thing, look, when you're in Congress, you work with everybody. I do. I think every member of the Senate, every member of the House works with people who have very, very different points of view. But I don't think you have to be touting personal relations with people who were very brutal segregationists.
But Senator, he wasn't touting
that's
relations.
My view on it.
His point was...
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry. If you disagree with me, that's fine. That's my view.
But haven't you, over a 4-decade career, had to align yourselves with people who don't share your views on things in order to advance your causes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just what I said. Absolutely. I have, and so has every other member of the Congress. But one doesn't really tout, one's personal relationships or make a virtue out of civility when it may be a necessity and not a virtue.
Understood. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Wow. Talk about unbiased, neutral, objective journalism coming out of NBC and MSNBC. And Bernie, can you be a little stronger? I mean, God, what does it take for Bernie Sanders to take off the gloves? I know some of you say that's why we like Bernie. Bernie, this is your last chance. You're not getting any younger. What Bernie should say is what I just said, frankly. But, Joe Biden, he's right. We need to be more civil with each other. And he could have referenced many Republicans who, he worked with in the Senate that were not proud segregationists. The issue is not talking about civility. The issue is referencing two segregationists to make a point about civility. Why is it that nobody understands this? Haha, this is why they won't let you in, NBC, Jordan. Yeah, I've done plenty of videos and reports on NBC. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop for access. If they want to ban me and status quo from the debates, then they could do that, because we're not about access. We're about real journalism. And if NBC and the corporate media want to block that, then what we'll do is the status quo, the coup de cavalry. That's you, the coup de cavalry. All of you, I know, are going to email them. All of you are going to call them, because there's the numbers. Email them. Call them. We're not going to just let this go. We're going to be on them every single day. But all I got to say is it's embarrassing at this point. Oh my God, if you think the media gave Donald Trump kid glove treatment, if you think the media gave Donald Trump all this free coverage and let him get away with murder, what they're doing with Joe Biden is an absolute disgrace. This man has said and done so many racist things, I'm losing track. Iceberg right ahead. And they're all just giggling like schoolgirls. Joe Scarborough, Don Lemon, Mika, Joe, Nancy, Tom. I think they know that the iceberg's ahead, but they don't care. And thank you to everybody. I've already seen so many of you have already emailed them. Thank you. And thank you to Nicole Conley, $20 in the GoFundMe. We are now just $270 away from reaching that $60,000 mark. We are the engine that will not stop. I don't care if NBC News tries to stop us. We're going to keep going. And might I point out that Rachel Maddow and her ilk within the NBC News umbrella have been hysterical about the grave threat that Russia poses to our frail, holy democracy. We're so worried. Rachel Maddow is so worried. She did a segment that, oh my God, Russia could hack our electricity grid during the polar vortex. Well, NBC, you're so worried about our democracy being attacked, but you're going to deny credentials to status quo? Not that status quo represents democracy, but I know for a fact you're approving credentials to outlets with far less of an audience than us. That seems weird. You're saying space constraints? No, I covered 5 debates. There was no space constraints. We're not talking about me, Ty, and 20 people. We're talking about Ty and I. So, really, what's happening here, and I don't say this to pat myself. They know my work. They've seen my Donna Brazil interview. They've looked at status quo. And they don't want to allow us, even within breathing distance, of anyone from Joe Biden's campaign, anyone Kamala Harris's campaign, anyone from Mayor Pete's campaign, and maybe even Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I'm not saying Warren is like them, as bad as them, but I got some questions for Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I'd like to know why you're moonwalking away from Medicare for all. I'd like to know, you say, oh, I'm going to be pure during the primary, but during the general election, yeah, I'll take some corporate money. Some of you have written, just break in. I don't think you really can visualize the security at these things. I break in, they're going to put me and Ty in jail and throw away the key. Thoughts on Third Way? They are disgusting and shameful, and I'm glad Bernie Sanders called him out on national television. That's my thoughts. So, I don't know what to tell you. There's an iceberg right ahead. It's called Joe Biden. And by the way, this is not the only racist stuff that is going to come out. I mean, let me find it. Journalist Walker Bragman found this today. Joe Biden referred to Jesse Jackson as boy in 1984. Senator Joseph Biden, while praising Democratic presidential candidate Jesse Jackson, used the word boy to refer to him and Senator Gary Hart. Jackson is one of the brightest guys around, Biden said in remarks made after the speech. That boy ain't no dummy, just like Gary Hart. Interesting. Very interesting calling a black candidate for president that boy. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. It's all there. If people look. Just terrible. So, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Remember, I'll be live on Sunday, noon Eastern, for the marathon live stream. Right now, we are at 59,730. I'd like to hit 60,000 before Sunday. So if any of you got a couple bucks to contribute, I think $5 is the minimum. We thank you. As of now, I'm not sure. We got traveler's protection for the Miami debate in the event we were denied credentials. I'm hoping that they reverse this decision. I'm not holding my breath, but the DNC said that they would go to NBC and ask for an exception. I'm not holding my breath, but this is what they say. But as of now, it's a very expensive trip to take if we're not going to have access to interview actual campaign people. So we want to go, but to spend $1,500 to $2,000 for 2 days and not have access inside, we might want to cancel it and spend our money to cover Bernie on the campaign trail or Tulsi or other candidates. So we shall see. Michael, don't think I'm banking on the DNC actually doing what they said. I'll give them a slight benefit of the doubt because they said they would. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Because I happen to think the DNC is probably who told NBC to deny us. There are financial realities. That's why we're pushing you so hard. Sign up. Become a member to Status Coup. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. I will finish by showing you what we've already done.
I've been speaking with people online waiting to get in for a few hours, and a common thing you kind of hear from Bernie voters is, let's finish what we started.
We're going to win this election because we are putting together the strongest grassroots campaign in the history of American politics.
I'm live, sorry.
Hey everybody, look at Status Coup is out doing, what do they call this, reporting.
We the people, we got to be running Bernie as an independent regardless now.
Why is it that all of the money is going to the 1% and, our wages are staying flat? I mean, everybody's working hard. We're all going for the American dream, but it's not happening.
The United States, if you were president, have to look at
some of the things it's doing to spark radicalization.
Yeah, I think it is important to look at the ideology that is driving different terrorist groups.
Take a look outside of New York at the plight of the working man and woman of this country.
And we gotta keep it 100 and respect and lift up our black women. Most of them putting in that work was black women.
You know, what does it mean to be a leader? You know, everybody in the front ain't a leader. You judge a leader by the work that he or she produces. We have a lack of leadership because we have people who are trying to force other people to be leaders.
He's going to need people actually correcting the record, because I think a lot of people, particularly some older, more establishment voters, think he's a socialist boogeyman, and they're going to need people knocking on their door to explain, no, he's not. He's just trying to do basically what like FDR did.
Where would we be if JFK said, going to the moon is a pioneer? I don't know. No, we make the decision to do it, and then we figure it out.
Bernie Sanders is at least coming out saying, hey, this is what I'm about. I've been saying the same thing throughout my entire 40 years of politics, and I have not detracted from that stand.
Kimberly Ellis, who's an African-American woman running for chair, and she almost beat Eric Bauman 2 years ago. And a lot of people think she did beat Eric Bauman, that he cheated to win. Anyway, Eric Bauman was forced to resign in November because of sexual harassment.
The Democratic Party likes to talk a lot of nonsense all the time about we support women of color, we're here from women of color, but when it comes time to create space for them to talk about issues, the issues that are bothering them, they're never there to show up.
So is this your first Bernie Sanders rally?
Yes.
Okay. So what?
I'm a convert.
I think when the debates come around, I'd like to see him go a lot harder against his opponents. I like to see him call them out for the corruption that is very obvious.
This is why status quo exists. All the corporate folks have left. We're still here.
I want somebody to come in that's not owned, that doesn't owe anybody anything, and get our country back, get our country right again.
We have seen throughout history far too many examples of how U.S.-led regime change have been driven, frankly, by corporate interests.
Become a member of the status quo. We appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all so much. I'm literally doing my dream job because of y'all.
Now seeing Mexican kids getting deported without their parents, and it's just not okay. I'm just really disrespected. So I hope the next president does something good about this.
Well, your personal opinion is based on working in finance, not actually going out into the country and seeing what's actually happening.
Peace out!